A former WWE superstar has debuted at AEW. Also, an AEW wrestler has been repackaged and is a new gimmick. Also, we are going to talk about Jake Paul joining WWE. If you guys want more videos like this, go ahead and click subscribe. And don't forget the timestamps are in the description down below. We're going to kick things off talking about Jake Paul because he is interested in joining WWE. Recently on Carton and Roberts' show, he was asked about the idea of signing with WWE. And although he is interested, he doesn't want to wrestle now because he is focused on his boxing career and doesn't want to get injured. In fact, he says, maybe someday I'll join Logan Paul in WWE. I just can't get injured right now going off the top rope, but that could be interesting. I think we should become the WWE champions. I don't think anyone can beat us. Now, I don't know if Jake Paul knows how wrestling works, but if you want to become the WWE champions, you're going to have two separate belts. Or you could become the WWE Tag Team Champions and do it together as brothers. And honestly, I know a lot of people are probably going to have some blowback to this comment. Whether you like Jake and Logan Paul or not, it doesn't really matter. These guys have brought so much attention to the sport of boxing, which has actually helped the sport of boxing. It has helped people get paid in the sport of boxing. And I genuinely believe Logan Paul and Jake Paul would probably be... I think it's safe to say that they would be a good business investment for WWE, and they would get their money back. And I think Logan Paul and Jake Paul would bring a lot of attention to WWE, which if you are a WWE superstar who is trying to get to the top spot, believe it or not, Jake and Logan Paul being associated in the ring with you could probably help grow your stock in the company, especially if you're having fantastic matches. I mean, just imagine the idea of a WrestleMania match for the tag team championship belts, Logan and Jake Paul wrestling, the Street Profits or wrestling the Viking Raiders or just some random shit, and I think that's exactly what would need to happen in order for it to be beneficial. There are a lot of great tag teams in WWE, but tag team wrestling isn't a big deal. You know that tag team wrestling would have to become a big deal if these two guys were teaming up in WWE. Plus, Logan Paul has shown us that he has acclimated really well to WWE, and I look forward to his match against The Miz, but the idea of Jake Paul in WWE is something I'm not going to shy away from. I think it makes a lot of sense business-wise, and you know what? When the time is right, I think it will happen. All right, guys, Fuego del Sol has been given a new character change. He has been repackaged. Guys, this is really interesting. If you guys watched my previous video, we talked about the speculation that Fuego del Sol could be leaving AEW. He blacked out his social media. There was this talk that maybe he was going to be on a per appearance deal. And I was saying, look, AEW needs jobbers, and not just jobbers that are on AEW Dark and Elevation, right? You need jobbers. You need people that are going to be on Dynamite to take the loss. And AEW doesn't really do that very often. But my point in that video was Fuego del Sol, to me, is considered an asset to AEW. Now, it's not in the same context as Jake Paul and Logan Paul for WWE, but the way AEW's roster is, you are going to need people that are genuinely at the bottom of the card, and you got to have them climb the ranks of the card. And I think Fuego del Sol is the perfect asset for AEW in this regard. So now at AEW Dark, Fuego del Sol is donning a new mask, and honestly, I think it just makes sense. I'm glad to see that Fuego del Sol has been repackaged. It appears to me that this is more of a darker version of Fuego del Sol, and you know what? It's not a bad idea. It genuinely isn't a bad idea. I think for AEW, it actually makes a lot of sense to have him try something new, something different. And if you really want to do some stuff on TV, Rampage, Dynamite, Sammy Guevara, Fuego del Sol, obviously, their friendship has been really well documented. I think a lot of people would have anticipated Sammy Guevara being the heel. But if you want to do something here with Fuego del Sol as a heel, you can do it. And I think there's a lot of people that are in the crowd that would actually enjoy watching this. There's a lot of people injured right now in AEW, and I've said before, because of injuries, you got to have other people step up. I think this is a good way to do it. So I'm very interested to see what AEW does with Fuego del Sol. This is going to be very, very weird because Fuego del Sol has been like the ultimate babyface, but it appears that this change is coming. It's coming very soon. And of course, I won't be spoiling match results or anything like that from AEW Dark, but of course, it is good to know that Fuego del Sol is donning a new gimmick. With that being said, guys, we are going to turn our attention to our final story of today's video. And this is super intriguing to me for a lot of reasons. but a released WWE superstar has debuted at AEW. And again, I'm not going to be spoiling results, but it is 100% true. Parker Boudreaux, aka Harland, has joined AEW Dark. And this is a very, very interesting thing to me because Harland was rumored to join WWE's Judgment Day. There was plans for WWE to push him, and there wasn't a lot of information out there as to why he was released. There was talks that maybe he wasn't developing that good in the ring, but honestly, we've seen some footage on social media. We've seen him in WWE. He wasn't that bad of a wrestler. Obviously, WWE had completely changed Parker Boudreaux from, this hype beast to a dark, sadistic character. So obviously the gimmick change was kind of weird and whatever, but now he is showing up in AEW Dark. And this really brings 2 points to the story. One, AEW is always going to be looking at NXT talent that don't work out. That is very evident. It is very clear to me. That is part of AEW's recruiting methods. We have seen time and time again people from NXT showing up in AEW, whether it's on Dynamite, Rampage, Dark, Elevation. It's happening. But number 2 is, what is the ultimate plan here with Parker Boudreaux? Because when you go back to what I was saying about not actually having a clear-cut reason as to why he was released, there were some rumors that there were some things that WWE dug up and they were not happy about what they saw. And again, you never know the real reason for why he's there. So if AEW is bringing in Parker Boudreaux, is he just another guy that is wrestling on AEW Dark? Is he just another guy that's taking losses to help pad the records for other people? Or does Parker Boudreaux come into AEW and get the Brock Lesnar treatment, the Wardlow treatment, where losses really aren't a thing to expect? And honestly, I thought his work in WWE for what he was doing based on his experience, he wasn't bad. I actually don't have an issue with AEW bringing him in. I think it's, I think it's very ballsy for AEW to constantly do that, but I think ultimately for AEW, what they need to do is, if they're going to bring in a talent from WWE, you got to show everybody why you are different than WWE and take them to the top and do something with these characters. If they didn't work out in WWE and they come to AEW and they don't work out in AEW, not a good look for AEW. So I think AEW bringing in Parker Boudreaux is a really good opportunity for AEW to show talent what they can do when they bring you in and let you be yourself. But if they put Parker Boudreaux in a situation where he's groomed for failure, it's going to reflect poorly on AEW. And in a sense, it's going to reflect poorly on Parker because he obviously didn't mesh out well in both companies. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below.